A shout out to Ge.Holla and
Hey, Ge.Holla, Ge.Holla.
Ge.Holla, show me the God here, man.
All y'all said entertainer, shout out my guy Ge.Holla of My Celebrity Life.
Blog Talk Radio.
But when I look in the mirror, I see a girl, beautifully broken, perfectly flawed. I don't even know how I made it this far. And I'm asking myself questions like,
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, subscribing, rocking with us, being part of the movement. Hey, even hating is just another version of love. It's more intense, more aggravating, more, I don't know, angry, but it's still love, though, at the end of the day. We appreciate you tuning in and being a part of the show and a part of our experience and our journey and our life struggles and our ups and our downs. Once again, I go by the name of Ge.Holla. It's not Gula, not Guala, not GeHolla, but Ge.Holla. You'll find this interview on GeHolla.com. And you know what? I got a really cool, super cool Roll Tide. You know what I'm saying? Kimmy D, the queen, you know what I'm saying? Researching the pop culture right now on the line with me. What's going on, Kimmy D? How you doing this afternoon?
Hey, I'm doing all right. And hey, everyone that's on the line. As always, it's Kimmy D, one of the co-hosts of MycelebrityLife. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ms_KDK, and on Facebook at Kimothy Denise at KIMBERLYDENISE.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you for the breakdown. And I do see our guests are already on the line, so I'm not going to hold them too much longer. But, you know, from the TLC network, the show called The Snowden, the plural family, also the polygamy family as well, whichever version of that you want to go with. They both mean one and the same. We don't have to play a game of semantics. But Kimmy D, we're going to let you go ahead and start right off with these wonderful individuals we have calling in today on the show, seeking a sister wife and all that type of information. When you hear the unmute, Dimitri and the Snowden family, you will be on the show with My Celebrity Life, and I am Ge.Holla. How you all doing, or how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
All is well. Nice to meet you through this technology by way of phone, and yeah, this is going to be a good show. Thank you for calling in.
Absolutely, always.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to leave you with my first co-host, Kimmy D. Kimmy D, come on, do your thing, talk to Dimitri.
All right. Good afternoon, Dimitri. So I wanted to start off with you just get with a little bit of your background and just growing up with your experience. If you just give everyone a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, sure. So I was born in Buffalo, New York, and lived on the East Coast for most of my life. So between Boston and New York, as I was primarily raised. I had two-parent household. My father was born in Havana, Cuba. My mom is African American. So we had an interesting kind of upbringing in terms of culture. There's definitely a culture nuance there. I left the house when I was 14 years old, and from that point, been on my own ever since. I'm actually an autodidact, which means I have a high IQ, so I'm self-taught, self-learned, and have relied upon that to really just kind of suck in a bunch of knowledge and admire the different, market verticals and knowledge lakes, and have been able to kind of make a career out of that and kind of be where I'm at now.
So we're going to transition a little bit into the show. So what I've researched is that you met your wife in Indianapolis when you were the IT person. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So with that, what about her drew you to her?
Yeah, it was really her mindware, her intelligence. I'm really, really attracted to intelligence. She's also very active. She's a professional dancer, and at the time was heavily into her dance. And then lastly, just well-traveled. So she's been everywhere, lived in Brazil for a short time, been in Dubai, just super well-cultured, and I really appreciate that.
Okay, so when I was doing the research and also watching the show as well, it said that, you brought this idea to her of a plural relationship and that she was actually open to it. So with that, how do you go about selecting a person that you would potentially propose to or you want to be a part of this type of family dynamic?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of assessing compatibility, making sure that the compatibility that you need in order to be a successful family is going to be there. And if you guys can't establish that up front or communicate about that, then, no one will bail out and move on to the next.
So your wife mentioned on the show is that compatibility with her is just as important, not just simply with you, and that you all have been searching for someone for 9 years. You've had a situation before with someone that didn't work out as well as on the show. So are you and her idea of compatibility the same, or do you differ in what areas that you both need?
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of mutual compatibility and then probably individual. So, the mutual stuff would just be your generic, be kind, be clean, be respectful, that type of shit. And then individual might be some nuance that's more housed around the male-female dynamic or female-female dynamic.
So on the show, you mentioned when you all were talking about when you were bringing in one of the ladies, I don't know if I need to mention her name or not, but you were bringing in and you made her go on a detox. What was it that made you all, because I know you're doing the vegan lifestyle and the more holistic approach, what was it about doing this detox that was important to you all?
Yeah, the detox is really, it's really biochemical, quite frankly. It's just a matter about just getting everyone on the same pH. And then there's some esoteric value to it as well, obviously, because during the time that you have to abstain from your favorite snacks or foods or habits, there's a dimension of you that will be expressed, and that's in frustration, right? So another way to get to know somebody is when they can't have what they want, right? When, stuff's not going away. It's another way to, again, get to know someone.
So with you all spending so much time in searching for someone and you've had, setbacks in this search, how do you continue to move forward with looking for someone to come into your family as well as with, the children?
I guess no different than you would if it were monogamy. I mean, it's kind of the same,
more
right?
So like
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was going to go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
No, go ahead, please. Elaborate.
I was going to say, how do the children handle meeting new people? And then I know they're younger, but do you have to explain to them that this person will no longer be a part of the family, or is there that the level of attachment like normally would have to interact when we're trying to blend families, or are they still too young to notice that this is the absence of a person?
Yeah, I think it's part of it again is kind of the same, that it's the explanation or the nuance, the emotional debt that may be incurred when stuff falls apart is still the same, agnostic to the relational construct. So it doesn't matter if it's monogamy or polygamy, it's still the same. You still have one less favored adult, right? That person's gone away for whatever reason. So for us, because the babies are younger, the explanation is less detailed. But as they get older, of course, we'll have to be more crafty with our messaging. But even then, quite frankly, we're just honest. Hey, this is, we're dating, and because, by the way, there's no contrast for them. They've only known our way of family. I don't have to contrast that with monogamy, right? I don't have to sit there and explain that. It just is. They only know it this way, so I don't have to sit here and define this big thing and explain how it's so different and all that good jazz. When the time is appropriate, when they seek interest and or when they, raise the question, then we'll dig deeper into that. But their level of consciousness will support that level of inquiry.
So what was it about seeking a sister wife? What drew you all to wanting to participate in this TLC reality show?
For us, it was about just wanting to show that, listen, you can be non-religious. You can do this without it being, a sign of your patriarchy or how alpha male you are. You can do it with all these things and still be a quote-unquote normal person that still goes to the supermarket and likes to go to the movies and just like everyone else, but just has a kind of a twist on what a family unit can look like. And by the way, it can be successful.
Do you find now that more people are recognizing you because of the show, or do you still feel like you have some anonymity at this point?
No, it's everywhere. I mean, the show's been off now for 9 months, and it's every when we still go out at the gas station, supermarket. Hey, you guys are from hey, miss you from the show every single time. I'm not getting invited to anyone's red carpet yet, but we're recognized at supermarkets.
Well, you can parlay into getting to the red carpet. That's probably due to come. So
okay.
I wouldn't. So yeah, because I don't know if you watch any other reality shows, but a lot of other people have been able to transcend that to get invitations to other things. So I think in due time you can still get there.
Gotcha.
So with you all looking, I don't know if you've been successful because I know you're in production for the next season. Do you think you will ever get to a point where you're not looking for someone else to be a part of your family? If you get to a, let me say it this way, if you continue to search for someone and you're unsuccessful, do you think you will ever get to a point where you stop searching?
No, we wouldn't. And then even then, it gets to a point where you don't have to search; you attract it. What you're looking for is also looking for you. It's kind of the way we like to look at it.
So so more of like manifestation. So eventually, the law of attraction, someone will lead it to you.
Absolutely.
So, have you watched the other couples that are on the show as well? Do you go back and watch your episodes by chance?
Yeah, because we don't get to see the episodes before they come out, so it's not like we get to pre-screen them. When it comes out on whatever day it comes out. I think last season was like Sunday at 9:00 or whatever. Like we're watching it with you guys for the first time. So yeah, to see the other family's journey and see how everything unfolds is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so there was one family in particular, I can't remember the name, like they were trying to decide on putting everyone in one household because it was multiple children and multiple wives, I think it was the correct. Do you see yourself being that expansive in your family?
That we have everyone under one home?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for us, that's the goal anyway. When I think about, economic literacy, it just makes sense to have that in one home. And obviously, having a home that can grow with the family would be most appropriate. But, yeah, for us, that makes the most sense, both, economically as well as, esoterically.
So I know that at one point you were in Atlanta, and I think you're currently in L.A. Is that still correct?
Yes, correct.
So how was that transition from Atlanta to L.A. with the family in regards to also extending your search? Because I know that I saw that online that you were looking online for someone that would be interested in being a part of your family structure.
So a couple of things. The transition from East Coast to West Coast was interesting for me. Again, I'm an East Coast kid at heart, so just like it's a very different mindset, very different culture out here. Still getting used to it, and just never thought I would ever be living out here. But here I am out in LA. So yeah, but it's been good. It's been beautiful out here. The weather is brilliant. There's a restaurant for any type of food palette that you have. You like just anything that can accommodate you. Cali's dope in that way. And then the senior side of your inquiry was something about online.
Yeah, so I noticed that you all were looking online for someone that would be interested in being in a polygamous family. How has that affected your search by being in LA? Has it made it easier or has it made it a little harder?
Yeah, I mean, we've actually not advocated, or I'm not sure what that might be referencing, but we haven't put out any ads or posts or anything looking for anyone online. At this point, there hasn't been any need to do that since we've been on TV. The inboxes stay pretty frequent with questions and women offering us to look at them. So it's just kind of been, again, just being more intentional and smart about who we're engaging and the reasons why we're engaging, and make sure that everyone's honest and upfront about why we're around each other.
So is your wife vocal about her needs and what she needs from another person?
Yes.
And so when you are looking, because I know that I was looking on the show, because I actually watched some of the episodes. So I was watching them, and it was saying that before she would talk to them by herself, and then now more so, I don't know if that's still current, that you all kind of get online together and talk to them and try to build up a relationship. So when you are discussing your needs with these other people, which I'm not sure if it's more than one person or however that it corresponds with being on television, is it more so you agree on what needs need to be met beforehand, or do you each decide individually?
Okay. Yes. I'm sorry. I do remember that episode with that online thing. Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got to remember, like, even in TV world, it's like a long time ago. Because even when we pre-record, and so sorry about that. So I think there's things that have to be expressed, and she has to have her own relationship with this woman. They're going to have their own communication style, right? Their own inside jokes, their own everything, and so it's very key that they're able to communicate and express, explore, feel vulnerable, safe, and comfortable with each other, as well as myself and the woman. Obviously, there's a template for the man and woman, relationship, be it not 100% successful if there's one there, whereby the woman to woman relationship may be a little harder to model after, and so that's a little more unique.
Okay, so I know that there are probably a lot of people who have a lot of questions for you that are interested and maybe oppose this type of relationship. So for you, if for someone who's interested, what type of advice, if any, that you would give them if they're trying to be in a plural family relationship? And then for those who oppose it, what type of response do you give back to those?
Okay, so for those that are for it, so for men, my advice to you is to get your money up. This is not something you can do broke. This is not something where you can collect wives and everybody have to work 100% of the time to chip in their check. That's not what this is. So you better get your money up. 2, make sure you know how to communicate, and make sure you are yourself very clear and transparent. And then for women that are interested, same thing. Just be clear, be honest. This type of a relationship requires a constant pressure. And monogamy, you have the space to hide from each other. When you don't like it or you're offended or whatever, you can kind of hide and go the other way or avoid your spouse emotionally for many, many years. In a plural relationship, there's nowhere to go, because where one spouse may miss it or overlook, that nuance, the other spouse is going to pick up on it. So you have to cut this shit. Like, you gotta eat your vegetables first. You know what I mean? And show up every day. Yeah. And then last advice overall for all those that are looking forward to it is that, remember, this is a choice. You have to want to be wanted, not needed, right? So I want to wake up and choose my babies, my house, my wives, I want to choose that, and I want them to wake up and choose me every single day. The day that you wake up, the day any one of these people wake up and say, you know what, I'm done, I'm good, that's when everyone has a nice conversation. We hit the eject button and we keep it moving. Right, so that's my advice. And then for people that oppose it, I mean, I don't care. Yeah, I mean, like, that's cool. My thing is, don't give me a hard time. You're entitled to think what you want, just don't get in my way. You know what I mean? If you do, it's going to be, we'll have some static downstream. But you don't have to like it. I don't have to. You don't have to do anything. Just leave me be, and leave everyone else that wants to live this way. Leave them be. I think we'll be fine.
That's actually good advice, regardless of what type of relationship you're in, honestly.
Mind your business.
With you being, yeah, that's true. Mind your business that pays you. So with you being the male and being more interested in having 2 wives or 2 women, I'm not sure the correct term, so excuse me if I'm not giving the terminology correct. How are you able to deal with those varying personalities? Not
for everyone. And this is why I say even if a man does, quote-unquote, think he's alpha and quote unquote, got a few bucks in the bank. It's like, dude, like this requires a whole nother level of emotional maturity and intelligence, EIQ, right? That a lot of people, let alone men, just don't have. So for me, though, I am intrigued by human behavior. So I'm an ontological architect. Ontology is the study of human behavior, how the things that people invent actually changes how they behave, right? So I study that. I am intrigued by that. And I just developed a curiosity for human behavior, and I love the pressure of self-betterment. I love, like, trying to beat myself the previous time. I love trying to do just another 10 more reps. I love trying to do it a little bit faster. I love trying to do it with a little more air. Like, I love that. So for me, this plus my affinity for feminine centricity has just netted me this way of life that for me is perfect. It's perfect. I have to be a better man. I can't not be a good man. I can't be half-assed. I can't be mediocre. I can't do this 89%. I just can't. So I think, for the most part, I think most men that are able to live this way of life are better men for the most part, generally speaking, obviously withstanding any nut jobs out there. But I think it just makes a better man.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because Ge.Holla actually has a lot where he believes in being a better man as well as studying human behavior. So I'm actually going to segue back into him and see if he wants to add in his input, because me and him talk about this a lot. So, Ge.Holla?
Oh, okay, I'm back. I appreciate you, Kimmy. That was pretty cool. I love that response to me. You dropped a lot of good, powerful, strong jewels. I just like to, I know you don't really per se care because your level of intellect is always moving forward, and you can't really be concerned about those who don't agree or those who don't align with your lifestyle. But I love to challenge people on the whole idea, not necessarily the definition, because they'll pull the definition and say, hey, this is what plural family or polygamy means, and anything outside of that isn't. But me being black and you being black, African American in this culture, and you know some folks, and I know some folks, Kimmy D knows some folks, we know plenty of brothers and sisters that live in the hood or don't live in the hood that have multiple baby daddies and multiple baby mamas. And I'm like, if you really look at it in a sense, not by definition, just by what you're living, you're already in some sort of plural type of family. You're dealing with multiple people, whether y'all live together. In some cases, they still sleeping together. In some cases, that they aren't. So why don't we adopt or realign our minds back into the beginning of the essence of the earth like we used to, and just work together as one collective family, regardless of the terms, stepbrother, baby mama, baby daddy, all of that. Let's just come together as a collective and make it work. Because like you said earlier, it's about the children at the end of the day, pushing forward to teach them another next generation. So how do you feel about just that idea that that we're speaking about right now?
Yeah, man, you touched on a lot right there. I think I wish people would take a step back and observe, to your point, that there's a plurality to this. Like, guys, you've been in a relationship. May have been coerced, may not 100% agree or whatever, but you've been doing this. Why can't, now to your question, why can't people see it this other way? I think it's a couple of things. First and foremost, I think we as a culture lack EIQ, emotional intelligence, right? I don't think we have the emotional intelligence appropriate enough for a relationship as complex as more than one spouse. And quite frankly, that level of EIQ is required to even raise children. And I think because we don't have the EIQ, even our children. So take out the plurality of the parents. Even if you have a normal 2-parent home or 1-parent home, there's a level of EIQ that is not appropriate and well underserved for our children. And so now we have our children growing up in, gender roles and masculinity and femininity, and all this stuff is being all just mixed all up. And because no one's providing context or definition or advocating free will or what have you, it's just a mess. And by the way, we've tokenized our children. Like, human assets are commodities, right? Children are good for what? Tax time, and welfare, if that's the role we're talking about when you kind of reference that level of demography, right? That the company, if you're indigent. So it's like, yeah, who's going to give that up? Those are also your paycheck, and then you wrap the low emotional intelligence. They're mine. I'm possessive. I own the humans. They're my chattel property. Add all that together, and you get this output where, yeah, it's okay to have 3 or 4 baby mamas. It's okay to have 5 or 6 baby dads, or whatever the case is. But for me to have 2 or 3 or 4 women with fidelity I'm taking care of, that have my last name, that have, fiscal instruments in place to protect them, to have all the resources to express your creative freedom, to have all that somehow is wrong. That somehow now makes you raise your eyebrow. It's insane. It's insane.
I love that. I love the way you broke that down, bro. You're absolutely right. And this is not a shade, because we do have a queen on the phone. It's not any shade towards any demographics or certain type of women, but we have to admit, a lot of that comes from a woman's personal trauma and drama with other men. Because in our group, it's predominantly women, and I said that we were going to have you all onto the show, and all I heard was my previous experience with men, like all the way down the whole thread. For 2 days, I didn't say anything. Then finally I came on and said, you know what? You all are being a little bit judgmental about the plural relationship understanding, because some of you all, and I know your personal business, and I'm going to put it out there, but some of them are married, but you're messing around with other men, but you don't want your man to mess around enough with another woman. That's what that's about. And some of you are baby mamas who are upset with the black man. Let's just be real. So now, therefore,
Right.
when you hear polygamy, all they hear is the man getting what he wants and having sex whenever he wants. When I know other women who institute that plural family understanding to their men, because they are attracted to women and they don't want to cheat on the guy. So they'll say, hey, babe, let us bring in some swingers. Let's be swingers. I'm thinking, like, isn't that part of the plural family, too? You're kind of doing the same thing. Like, how are you so judgmental on one front, but you're accepting things on another front? You got a work base. You got somebody on the internet you laugh, you joke with, to a point where you're so intimate you may not have had sex, but your mind is so aligned with theirs. Come on. I mean, like, I know I'm throwing a whole bunch at you, but that was just my counter argument was, look at your own life. You can't be so judgmental and closed-minded to things because you don't want your man sleeping with someone else, but you're doing the same exact thing.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, and there's a couple of things. And, just to kind of go to the front side of what you said is, yeah, look, there are a lot of men, including myself, because we are not raised with a higher level of intelligence, emotional intelligence, we're not honest. We're just not, we don't even know how to be honest. And then when we're honest, we're shamed for being honest. Yeah, I don't have enough money today. You know what I mean? Yeah, I only do have a 5-inch penis. Yeah, no, actually, my car it's a 97. You know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me? And so now that level of honesty is now chastised, right? So there's no way to win. And so then you kind of you resort back to this, disingenuous lie and this proxy that you build. And two things happen. Obviously, you build this proxy so that everyone else can buy into it. But then the sick thing happens that you start buying into it. And you can't even tell yourself from the bullshit, right? You start believing that, and then it's just a big mess. Again, I can go on and on, right, in terms of the mental breakdown that ensues from this dealing with fake self. But, man, I'm trying not to go down a tangent here.
Come on, are we with you? I'm riding with you in the car.
Yeah, it's big. It's just, yeah, like, so I think there's that part of it. So men, we do have an issue, and men do have, and I'm overgeneralizing here, so bear with it, my reference, but men do have a carnal desire and burn for sexual gratification. And so we do things, we will behave in certain ways that are counterproductive to honesty, economy, loyalty, all that shit, right? Just to get, ass. And that's a problem. Again, that we don't have a high enough emotional EIQ to usurp that primal desire. And so that's that part. And I think the other part of the challenge is, men, because we're not inherently, I don't say we're not inherently honest. We're not taught to be honest. Let me say it that way. This idea about let me be honest and let me do without for as long as it takes until I can be with the person I can be honest with is like insane because of how we define masculinity. Remember, masculinity is defined by, notches on your belt, right? How many chicks can you take down? You know what I mean? What's your sexual appetite? All the 90s songs taught us that. It was like, I can take you, I'm better than he is, I have more money than he is. Like every 90s song, you think about it, like, wow, this is why we have this problem now. So, anyway, I'm babbling a bit. I'm just saying there's a lot of there are some issues with men, and men can't get this right and can't build a model, right, of success in terms of fidelity, honesty, economic leadership, then I don't know how you're going to attract a woman enough to trust you to lead not only her but other women as well as the children that will become from that family. So yes, men have to step this up. Men can't do this by themselves, and I say this specifically now. If the majority of families are single parent families, and that means moms have sons, and we can say that majoritively, then that means the men that are here now are products of a woman raising them. So, okay, if you want men to be better, and the majority of men are being raised by women, then who needs to start the betterment, right? And this is kind of chicken egg, very cyclic thing. But somebody's got to do something, and it's not incumbent upon one single gender. But we all gotta work together. We gotta stop the gender war. It's not all men. It's not all women. Stop, own your shit, and let's fix it and keep it moving. I mean, until we have these real conversations, we're going to persist the turmoil.
No, you wasn't babbling. You was making perfect sense because I understand exactly what you're saying. I have a homeboy who is in your situation pretty much. He has multiple. Okay, excuse me. We're just speaking in the plural family analogy. He has multiple baby mothers. Some of his baby mothers that he's sleeping with kind of like all of them. It's like real convoluted, but it's weird on a certain level. They accept it as long as they don't know about it. They'll tell him stuff like, "I don't care what you do, as long as I don't know about it." And I'm like, wow.
It's immature.
But if he brought this to them and said, "Let's all live together collectively, so it'll be cheaper on all of us, and then they can help with the children," they're gonna say no, but they allow him to do it. I'm just like, this is interesting. You're right. It does play with IQ and also, like you said, public shaming and traditions and worrying about what other people think instead of saying, like you just said a moment ago, let's come together and build. Let's give our children a platform that they can skyrocket off of. We have a multifaceted family. Mm-hmm.
That also requires men to women. If that's in fact what he wants to do, then he has to pick women that can do that, right? You can't first of all, can nobody make nobody do nothing, right? So if this woman that he's feeded and has given a child to is not the woman that is open to that type of thing, then why would he have, he should have controlled it better. He's got to think. And this is our challenge. It's a big responsibility, right, to think appropriately and think downstream in terms of who you're laying with. Because once you do have that child, man, you're quote unquote, you're stuck with that person. That bond is there forever. And if that person is traumatized in some way by the relationship that birthed the child, you're only as old as the last trauma that happened to you. You're only as old as the last trauma that happened to you. So if the last thing that happened to you was when you was 15 and so-and-so did this and that, and you haven't really dealt with that, then emotionally you act like a 15-year-old. You scream, you pout, you shut down, you go in the corner, you don't call anybody for days, you hide under the blanket, whatever 15-year-olds do when they can't deal with shit, right? Like this is the problem. And so again, until we get enough EIQ, emotional intelligence, like your cognitive intelligence, you cannot get any smarter than you are. Whatever your IQ is, that's as high as you can go. But your EIQ, your emotional IQ, you can increase that quotient. You actually can become more emotionally intelligent. And it goes by doing the hard stuff, eating your vegetables first, doing the hard work, asking the hard questions, and owning your shit. By the way, I am cussing on here, and I just realized that. I apologize.
It's okay. No, you're being real. And I just want to add in this last little factor to that dynamic, that very multifaceted, confusing dynamic, is that some of the baby mothers have gotten with him before, and they've all done threesomes. So I'm just like, you're already in the plural family.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry. They're doing almost everything that you're doing. So I'm just like, just go ahead and be together. Y'all just move in one house and figure it all out. But you're absolutely right. Emotional IQ is definitely a plus. We don't want to hold you too much longer. I do like to thank you for being on the show today, being a wonderful guest and dropping some very powerful jewels. What are your upcoming projects that you have coming up within the next year? You got anything going on that you want to try, that you're doing, that you want to venture into?
Yeah, so much. Wifey and I have launched a CBD company, and we're doing actually well. Got lots of support from the community, our fans on the CBD company. You can go to Snowden Botanicals, either.com or on Instagram. I used to professionally fight a long time ago, MMA, Muay Thai. Retired for many, many years, and I want to get back into it. But I'm going to do boxing this time, so I'm going to take a couple pro fights probably toward the end of this year, just to see how I feel being in the ring, and let's check it out. We have a couple other projects, big ones that are coming out, but you guys will have to kind of hang tight and watch for those as we get through the year.
Well, thank you so much. I do want to support your business, so I'm definitely going to go onto your website and order some CBD products, because I have a couple of family members that having lower back problems and shoulder problems, and I've been researching it, and it says how you can rub it on there and start to heal, or it'll disconnect that pain from the brain, so to speak, and let them be more limber and mobile. Because I know people don't understand until you lose something or something hurts you so bad to the point where you can't actively function on your daily, everyday living. It is a level of not only depression, I think, but just a level of it closes you in. It closes your world in. And I think a lot of times we don't understand it or know that until we're going through pain, like something as simple as brushing your teeth you're not able to do is kind of heartbreaking. So I definitely want to support you and support your business with that.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, before we let you go, brother, I want to ask two things of you. My name is Ge.Holla, and the show is called MycelebrityLife. If you could just give us a quick drop, you could just say something simple as, in your own words, of course, your name, and then I'm with Ge.Holla on MycelebrityLife, or however you want to arrange it around. That's fine.
Okay. Yo, what's good? This is Dimitri Seneca Snowden from TLC's Seeking Sister Wife, on the line with Ge.Holla on MycelebrityLife.
My good brother, thank you so much. I want you to stay on your square always. Continue to shine your divine light in the universe. And we got nothing but love for you. We support you. And we know you're going to take it to the top. And that with your divine intelligence, that I can see it one day, my spirit is talking to me right now, that you will be able to be a great motivational speaker and teacher and be able to lead our people and different peoples too as well into a better understanding about life and love and what family is, and even rearranging the structure in their mind and just having this whole thing just grow into something beautiful as it was in the beginning, as so it will be in the end. So I really appreciate you.
Always. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're about to wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it. That was Dimitri from TLC Show, The Snowdens. And I got my wonderful, cool co-host. Goes by the name of Kimmy D. Roll Tide. What's up, Alabama? What's happening? Come on in before we get up out of here.
Man, I have so much more to say to him. So much more. Like, can he come back? I seriously have so much more. Especially with the emotional intelligence and about being able to afford the relationships. Because all of this, if you take out the type of relationship or whatever title you want to put on it, it's important in any aspect. Friendships, family dynamics, monogamy, non-traditional, plural, all that. It's important, the emotional intelligence in general. And I feel like that is such a good point to continue to speak on. And, man, I really have so much more to ask him.
Okay. I'm still here, by the way. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to hang up.
Oh, okay. Well, you got a few more minutes?
I'm sorry. But
have you got a few more minutes?
Sure, let's go.
If males in general could just understand that aspect, and when you're talking about the single-parent household, like I just witnessed some of my friends, and me as well, because I'm a single parent, just like say the young man is the man of the house at like 12 or 13 and just coddling and all of that, and then you forget sometimes of the male growing up and what kind of impact on the world is he going to have when he goes into these other relationships, because you have a lot of mothers who are protective. You do have a lot of fathers that leave in the household, whether that's to death, prison, or any other extracurricular reasons, maybe whether it's like I don't want to deal with black women or whatever the case may be. And I think it is so important that what you said about the trauma, because there are a lot of people walking around with trauma, and I don't think they hear that perspective enough of that. I need to take accountability of where I'm at in my life, and I need to handle that before I take that trauma on into another relationship, whether that's male or female.
Well, nobody thinks they shit stink though, right? This is the problem, right? Everybody thinks that they perfect and everybody doing stuff to them. So it's like, when everyone's got that attitude, it's like, well, okay, well, no one will ever figure it out. I'll never figure it out.
It is. And also about the truth part, like I think that transcends all genders or whatever people want to call it today, because now you have I'm fluid, non-gender, like whatever at this point. It's just that accountability and trust is a big thing, and I think that people really, like you said with the emotional intelligence, they really do not believe that if I'm truthful, I may get the result that I want, but let me hide behind that and let me project onto someone else what my insecurities or my self-doubts are, instead of just being forthright and then saying, okay, this is who I am, this is what I expect, this is what I've given to you, this is what may have happened in my past, but however I'm going to grow and prosper. And so just to have those conversations, I think that's what we're lacking in the community overall. But how do you start those conversations? It's the question I'm at now.
Yeah, I think you started by just, quite frankly, modeling it. You know what I mean? When someone cool does it, then it becomes cool. It's okay. So if someone that has visibility can show vulnerability and show how you can overcome that vulnerability, then hopefully that works. Like, shit, in my season 1, I crossed the line. Like we had an issue, and I owned it. You know what I mean? Like, it's real. This is on national television. Like, that happened. You know what I mean? So you have to own your shit. And that doesn't mean own it and then come up with a bunch of excuses. Like, it's like, this is what I did. I know what I did was incorrect. If you want to know my why, here's my why. But that aside, now my question is what I need to do to get in a position to make you feel better, to rebuild this trust. I was less than a better version of myself. I know what I did. I know how to self-edit. It's not going to happen again. That's it. Like, let people have that let people lead a conversation like that. Are you like who stays mad after that? Like, I'm like, okay, cool, let's do it again. You know what I mean? Like, who can stay mad at that? But that's not how we talk to each other, man. Everybody's trying to posture. Everybody's got to be perfect and right. Everybody's clapping back, and can't nobody be wrong. So I just don't have time for that shit. It's annoying to me, man. It's so annoying. I don't get it.
Yes, we are lacking effective communication. That's what I tell my students. You have to effectively communicate as well as effectively listen. And I think that is the problem, is that you don't want to listen as much as you communicate. And so with those type of dynamics, how do you get the general consensus that not only in what I'm saying, but what the person is perceiving is just as important as what I believe? Because now we're in a culture where you can't say certain things. Like, if you say something, I'm offended. If you don't use the correct terms, it's wrong. It's like, how do we get past that point of we can have open dialogue without being so easily disturbed by the words that are used at times?
I think by just owning our ignorance. So, kind of like just the preface. Hey, you know what? LGBTQ community, I'm not aware of all the syntax and the lexicon, so bear with me if I use incorrect terms. That preface, and then you go into your diatribe. But we just don't do that. Again, everyone talks like they're right. Everyone's opinion is a fact. And this is the problem, right? No one can own their ignorance. No one can say, you know what, this is the gap of my knowledge. I actually have no idea what I'm talking about beyond this point right here. Or I'm not going to sit here and make my life experience the milestone as a fact in this conversation, because we do that too. Well, my uncle did, or my so-and-so did, or this happened to me 28 times, so it's got to be true type stuff. Well, until we get beyond that, I quite frankly don't know. I do know that, once we can cut the shit and be honest about what our position is, I think that alleviates a bunch of that. But that, again, it still requires someone to, be vulnerable.
Yes. And so I just want to touch on one more thing that Ge.Holla, because I feel like I had this conversation forever. But because I literally have these conversations with Ge.Holla and other people who are like on that emotional intelligence level, where we do go and dissect and say what can we do and how can we do this. But as he mentioned in that group message, there's so many people feeling like, well, I only want a monogamous relationship, da 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 da. And I think that's more of a Western culture as far as Western thought process. And I think that as we're changing, people are starting to see more. But how can I put this? What's the word I'm looking for? Because I feel like anything that's not the norm is considered wrong at this point. How much of that is just culture, and how much of that do you think is emotional intelligence, or is this both?
In terms of what? In terms of monogamy being a favored model?
Yes.
That's a culture. That's a culture, and one that we've, have been forced blindly and now currently blindly subscribe to. We just consider that the default. And with that default comes a certain set of circumstances and parameters and conditions under which that model operates. And that's one man, one woman, typically of the same phenotype. You know what I mean? All these things, right? And this is how we define love or what have you. Yeah, what was the question? I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Cause he touched on like all the women that were in the group who had a strong opinion on it, but
that's what it was. I'm sorry, you're right. Yeah, I think that I think it's a blind subscription to the culture, and that culture, one of the dimensions of that culture is monogamy, and I think the other issue is this. I think it's a more of a human thing. Is this thing around possession? Why do humans have to own or possess other humans? The second we realize you don't own anybody and that's not your man and it's not your child, once we can understand that, you interact with them different. That level of superiority, right? That level of hierarchy, that level of just control changes, and you actually start interacting with that human, child or spouse or what have you, on a different plane, and communication I think is better rather than subordinate. So, for me, I don't own Ashley. Ashley does not own me. We have 3 children. I do not own any of them. I'm here as a mere guide. I'm blessed and I'm happy they chose me to be their father in whatever other realm they came from, and that's dope. And I'm going to do the best I can because I know this is a gift. It's super special to me, right? But I know that any day, again, because for me, love is a choice, my children and even Ashley could say, you know what, I choose not to be here anymore. I choose not to want to be part of this life. And they can go. They're free to go. When we realize that, and when we realize that common DNA ain't enough for us to be together, right? Just because we got common DNA don't mean I don't like you. You're an idiot. You know what I mean? Once we start understanding that love is a choice, relationships are a choice, and at any time that choice can change, you start acting a little more in line with gratitude. You act more thankful for that relationship. You don't take it for granted. But when you act like, well, I'm their mother, or I'm their father, or I'm his whatever, I ain't never going nowhere. When you act like that, then this is why sometimes we're not our best version in certain relationships. We could act a little bit better. Why are you being petty Pendergrass right now, son? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Yeah, I mean, you could have done better than that, but you don't. You know what I mean? But you're not, because you're not treating this relationship good. So, anyway, I think the net response to that would just be this idea of possession. I don't understand why. And then it's then when you think about it, it's well, I don't want my man sleeping with another woman. Okay, cool. So if he didn't sleep with her, it would be okay? Well, yeah. Oh, okay. So then now you're saying we distilled cheating and everything else down to just an act that lasts 6.4 minutes. Okay, got you. So now we distilled on the entire relationship and it's everything about it down to a sexual act. So there's no emotion, there's no support, there's no guidance, there's none all the other stuff. Now all of a sudden doesn't matter because now the man getting what he wants. When a woman says that, she's only talking about sex. That's all she's ever talking about. As long as she's saying, oh, he gets what he wants, because that means more money, or he gets a bigger plate of food. That's not what she's talking about. She's talking about he gets more sex. Everything's about sex. So Anyway, I can go on and on and on, but yeah, man.
Yeah, I was like, there's so many thoughts I have about all of that, and just listening to you. I wish more people could have been on the line to give their viewpoints as well. But this, like, one last question though before I let you go. I know that the preference is you and then 2 women or 3 or however many number that you may choose to. Would you ever consider bringing in another male?
No. For me, so I look at the energy centers of male and female. So women are centripetal. So that energy circle spins down into itself. And when you think about you as a woman, like you have a womb, like when you're creating, whether it's a job or a project or, you know, even your baby, you're spinning down. All your energy is going down into yourself. You're consuming the external life to birth things coming out of your womb, right? Men, our energy is centrifugal. So we spin outward. We want 55 acres. I want the biggest truck. I want an airplane. I want a castle. I want an island. I want the world, right? That's what we do. We spin outward. So when you have 2 of those energies, it does not flip and work. It just does not work. It doesn't work. And I'm not speaking about patriarchy. I'm going to save one of those conversations because that gets into a whole other level of gender war I'm not interested. But withstanding all of that, I'm talking about just energetic. When I look at the energy fields of the male species and the female species in any mammalian being, it is the exact same. Birds, reptiles, fish, humans is the exact same. It's all the same. So, no, we wouldn't consider a male energy. And I've been keen to make sure that I'm choosing women that are centered around feminine centricity and not requiring extra or additional masculine energy. And if they do need that, that's fine. I'm not opposed to it. It's just we're just not the family for them. They can find that elsewhere.
Gotcha. I still have so many questions. I'm gonna leave it alone.
No, go ahead. I'm here. Go.
Like I just feel like I'm just getting a whole. Well, me and Ge.Holla actually talk about this stuff like outside of the podcast, but it's just I don't know. I guess the word refreshing to hear someone's viewpoint of why they choose what they choose and actually can understand why they choose it, because I think a lot of times we do cloud our judgment with judging people and, like you said, of that possession of not being free. Because me, as a person who has chose to go to school and get a higher education and still continue past that, I've become more open to hearing various ideas without having to feel like I need to attack someone. And I can understand sides from everyone because, like I tell people all the time, if you live in another area and they eat like roaches or insects as their daily dietary, then who are you to tell them that it's wrong, or who are you to say what is right anymore in this world, because that's not the life that you're living currently.
Right.
So with me, just hearing everything that you're saying, I didn't have any idea or any judgment. I just was open to hearing, and the way you explained this, like, it transcends past a plural relationship. This could be applied to friendships, could be applied to family dynamics, it could be applied to monogamy, or even just a relationship with yourself, because you do have to address your trauma. You do have to say that I don't want to be stunted anymore by what I've gone through, and I want to grow as a person. I do need to trust who I am as a person and effectively communicate with other people as well and take away that possession. I think a lot of us do have that control issue where we feel like we have to have possession over these other human beings, and then we stifle their free will or their creativity or their free thinking by saying that if you don't do this, then you're not worthy of my love.
Right. Yep. No, it's true. We have to get rid of that level of possessiveness and remember that love is a choice. I don't want someone being with me because of the conditions that I wrapped around the relationship. Be with me because you choose and want to. That's the one that's going to last a long time, right? And, to the other point is like, the things that we're talking about are, to us, relationship 101. It's agnostic to the relational construct. It doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 15 lesbians or 3 gay guys. It doesn't even matter. It's like, if you want to have a successful relationship with your child, with your student, with your cousin, with your spouse, be honest. And all the stuff we talk about is the exact same. All we say and highlight is that in a plural relationship, whatever is wrong will be exasperated. It'd be completely magnified by like 1,000-fold because that many more people are there to observe the deficiency, the dysfunction. And when everyone's dysfunctional at some degree, and you add all that together, you have a lot of stuff you got to unpack and break down, which requires, again, emotional intelligence, which is patience, empathy, empathic listening, and just being open and vulnerable. And a lot of people do not do that. Everybody wants to fold up and put their cards on the table when it gets hot.
Do you believe it's cultural that we don't self-reflect or deal with the traumas? Do you think that's more of a cultural thing in society?
I think so, but that culture rides very close atop capitalism because trauma in this culture is monetized. There are some victims that are truly victims, but that's a very small number. Small number, in my opinion, statistically speaking. The rest of everyone that's offended or fucking outraged is because they can get paid. It's because I got likes, I got to go fund me, I get a book deal, I get to cry on Oprah, and now I got my blue check, right? Like that's that's what being a victim is now. It's not even, I don't know, it's weird. It's like it didn't hurt you when it happened, but it hurt you 28 years later. Oh, okay, now you're offended. Gotcha. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you can see that transition almost with dialect and what words are acceptable now, what wasn't acceptable, or the level of validation that some of the younger generation need, as well as some of the older people now, too. Because I noticed that with my students, sometimes they need constant validation. When I can remember when I was in school, you were lucky if you got a good job. Congratulations. Right. It wasn't this constant need of, can you validate me? Can you tell me that I'm worthy? Can you tell me that I'm okay? But don't give me too much criticism because then my feelings are hurt.
Right. And that's because of, our software, substantiates that. Validation is based on, it's a metric. How many likes? How many views? How many comments? And so that's both, virtual in software, on social media, as well as real life. So now we have a bunch of praise junkies. That's it. So, yeah, my kids, I don't clap. I don't parade. I don't clap at them for taking a damn trash out. You're supposed to. You know what I mean? You're supposed to know that to unscrew a screw is lefty, loosey, righty, tighty. You're supposed to know that. You don't get a reward for that. I'm not doing that. No one else is going to, there's no one here to save you. You got to save you. And that's how I'm raising my children. They got to figure out. So my dad raised me. I love them. They know I'm here. But I'm there in knowledge by proxy. But I cannot, if you hurt your knee, I can't feel that. So be smart,
I understand that. I actually do. And I think that's where society is steering it, that you have to be, like, almost always nurturing and always careful. And I think that is what's stifling us because although you might not agree with some person's viewpoint, sometimes speaking from your viewpoint will help the understanding or make you aware of the ignorance you may have. Mm-hmm. And now it has to be so politically correct with everything. I think that people are no longer growing intellectually because of that.
No, they're not. Because to your point, everything is data. How is data offensive? Data, numbers, integers. Aggregate data is now offensive, and when people are offended by data, they can just change it and make it something different. This is the insanity, right? This is the shit, like, to the point where we're arguing about, how coronavirus is a pathogen that's transferred and has sustainability life on inanimate objects, or when we're talking about global warming and the temperature variances. Like, just if you don't agree with the data, you just change it, and this is the problem. Like, because no one wants to own it. No one wants to be. I can go on and on. I'm sorry. It just grinds my gears, man. It's very important. Anyway, I just want everybody to own their shit. And if you say sorry, you're saying sorry not because you caught. You're saying sorry because you know that how you behaved was less than favorable, that it wasn't fair, because you could have did better. That type of acknowledgement, to me, man, that's human growth. That is human evolution. Human evolution isn't about 8-foot-tall humans in perfect health. Human evolution is the advancement of human consciousness, the ability to empathically listen and talk and communicate with each other and love around and through the bullshit. That, to me, is human evolution.
Okay, so I thank you again for your time, and I'm going to allow Ge.Holla to close it out. Ge.Holla.
Are you laughing at me? You was laughing at me the whole time.
No,
I'm
good.
just,
You're good.
like...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say it was a great conversation.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, brother. We're going to let you go this time. You can hit the end button whenever you feel in your spirit.
Okay.
Thank you for being on the show, seriously. Thank you for indulging with us and engaging with us. This was absolutely awesome and amazing. It really was.
Always. I thank you guys, too. I'll chat soon.
All right.
All right.
See you on the future turn. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We're going to wrap up the show. I got by the name of Ge.Holla. Not Gula, not Walla, not GeHolla, but Ge.Holla. You'll find this interview on GeHolla.com. And I had a really super cool co-host, goes by the name of Kimmy D. Kimmy D, where you at before we get up out of here?
All right, it's Kimmy D as always. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ms_KDK, and you can find me on Facebook at Kimberly Denise, KIMBRLYDENISE, and of course on MycelebrityLife at GeHolla.com.
That's right. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are riding in Georgia or GA, please make sure that your hands free. You do not want to get pulled over. I don't care how much money you got, I don't care how you're balling, what bags you're getting. None of that means nothing. You don't want to spend no time, no quality time down at a courthouse or municipal building in whatever city you live in. I don't care if you live in something big as Atlanta or something as small as Swainsboro. You don't want to be spending out your hard-earned money on a ticket just by holding a device in your hand. Be smart. Go in like you came out. You went out, unless you paid bills or you got to buy groceries or whatever, paying utilities, that's fine. Spend that money for that. Don't spend no money in no court system. That's too much. But with that being said, we are out. Holla, holla. Y'all be safe out there.